Hi, everyone. I want to introduce you to Raghav Goel. He is an NRI who's lived both in the United States as well as the UK. And today we're going to talk to him about the differences in the UK and the US life there and how his personal opinion is about it. Thanks, Raghav, for coming here. Wanted to take this opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
No, thanks a lot, Nupur, for providing me this opportunity to be part of the discussion and really love all the work you're doing. Personally, for me, I'm engineer by training, and over the last 10 years, I've worked across. I'm an analytics professional over and in consulting industry. And I started my journey in India when, after completing my undergrad, I was working for 2 years in Pune. Then I moved to US very quickly through transfer provided by my employer. Went in States around 2015. By 2021, I completed nearly 6 years, though H1B was kind of expiring. And then I had this transition to UK, which is another journey, another leap, but glad to be in UK for last 2 years. And yeah, I think over the 10 years, I've worked with the same firm, but worked across roles. So it worked out well.
How do you feel about the work culture in the US and about in the UK? And in the US, tell us where you were working, about physical location, so that because people know there's a difference between West and East Coast.
Oh yeah,
Can
totally.
you give us that comparison of US versus?
I was in New Jersey in the East Coast, near Princeton. It was a small town, college town. I was near Princeton, living there. But yeah, close to New York and other places. So I can imagine that different cities in US have different lifestyle and different perspectives. In UK, I'm close to London. I'm in Uxbridge, which is part of Greater London, and it's like very easy to commute London, and my office is in central London. So it's quite a change from working in a suburb to working in a city. But to your question earlier around work culture, I think for me and for my firm overall, it's quite similar. It's not that it's a drastic difference between US and UK. It's just that the time part, like being geographically located in the center, makes it much more convenient to overlapping time with India team or overlapping time with US team. Compared to US, it used to be like, okay, 7:30 a.m. in the morning, I'm on call, 8 a.m. in the morning, I'm on calls. And versus in here, I have a little bit more relaxed time to start my day with some focused work and then jump on calls with India team or US team. And that being said, I think another part which I found quite interesting is, and I had a bit clue, but here there are larger number of total vacations. So I could see in US people would go on vacation like for 2 weeks or something, but they are still checking phone or emails or something. Here people will go out like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and yeah, they won't be expecting. You can't expect them to be working or responding to emails or something.
UK overall, you also get a benefit of more vacation days.
More vacations as well, yeah.
Okay, so can you, on that topic of vacation and leaves, can you talk about how it felt taking a vacation while you were in the US versus taking a vacation while you were in the UK? And you could also address the visiting India part.
Yeah, I think visiting India is the biggest benefit, being closer to India. Actually, you hit on the right point. Could overlap with talking to family as well as visiting. Like it just take for me, like I come from Nagpur, so roughly 12 hours to get to Nagpur airport to airport. In US, like if I have to travel, one day would be consumed very easily, and then there is a jet lag. So assuming like 1.5 days, like nearly gone. Just that the number of days and the kind of flexibility is slightly little bit more in UK versus what you would expect in US.
For a lot of people, living in the US is a bit stressful for multiple reasons. Can you touch a bit about the everyday stress that you probably felt, or even if you didn't feel it, what is your view and perception of stress while living as an NRI in the US versus UK?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it varies person to person, as you already pointed right at it. But from the work perspective, I think US East Coast, especially, and again, East Coast and West Coast are quite different dynamics in itself. But East Coast was very bit like action oriented, driven, aggressive, action like getting things done, making sure things happen on time, being highly ambitious, motivated, versus UK is bit relaxed in terms of, if I look at my client ecosystem here externally, if I look from the client's perspective, they are a bit relaxed, laid back, which is not less pushy. Like I could see some of the clients are not that much pushy in UK. But again, I think it matters. Like I enjoyed working with US clients more because they were like a lot more like ambitious, bold move, risk takers.
So while talking about work, the question that comes to a lot of people's mind, and my visit to UK confirmed that wealth generation and finance and salary is on the mind of UK NRIs. In the UK, your salary is much lesser, and the bite of taxes that the government takes out is much, much higher. Can you
Totally.
talk about that structure, and can you talk about how that makes an NRI feel?
Definitely some adjustment in salary while moving, and a lot of people moving from US to UK or could expect that. The market dynamics are quite different, both in terms of salary as well as job availability and job approaches. And furthermore, US, you have like different places you can stay. While in UK, if you are like full time going to office, then you have to live close to the city. Basically, everything is clustered around city of London. Basically, most of the people I know are located like centrally around London, and that makes it much more expensive. So it's not like I can compare London to Princeton. I have to change my mindset to compare London to New York. I have to pay higher rent. There are some incremental charges in terms of council tax alongside rent. So on top of it, there is council tax. And the time I moved, the economy is not that well. Rents are on all-time high, so that makes it more challenging. US federal tax would be around 30-35% of thing. Here, the tax slab is the taxes are way higher compared to like 5 to 10% point higher compared to US. You get free similar insurance across the board, and that won't be in US. Like you have to pay for insurance, or your employer is paying for the insurance, and that would count as part. Like what type of coverage are they providing? So there are some social benefit to things in terms of salary cut. But yeah, if I have to talk about take home salary and how much amount I have in my bank to spend or how much I can save, I think I have to reset a lot of goals that way quite differently compared to US. Yeah.
That's interesting. So do you think that if somebody's goal was to make money, to generate, do you still feel like they should absolutely choose US over UK, or it's still depending on how they manage their finances?
Would say yes, US would be far more favorable, but there could be few jobs or few specific positions where you can earn good in UK as well. But I think the proportion of that is low because UK is like all about creating an equitable economy across all, versus US is like quite capitalist market in some way. Not that many salaried people I have seen own luxurious car. Unlike in US, you can see like someone working in West Coast earning big amount of money, that you can see easily.
The type of houses you get in the US and the type of apartments, is it similar to what you get in the UK, or are there any adjustment of expectations an NRI needs to do in the UK?
Total adjustment, I would say. Yeah, I think US, especially if you are coming from suburb, like the way I was living in Princeton and all, I was having quite spacious apartment. And when I come to UK, I think everything gets adjusted to a normalized size, which is far more comparable to India and other things, right? I think US, you had far more spacious and open area, plus centralized heating in US, which is AC and heating, which is appearing like more like a luxury. So there's a show called Ted Lasso that shows quite a contrast in the culture, shows quite a contrast in the living life expectations, how you might live in a small apartment, but yet have a better community around it because everything is located so closely around the city.
Yeah. So thanks for bringing the community up, because that was my next question. And I think it'll be interesting for the viewers to know that you have a child, you're married, and you have a kid. So when we talk about community, it's slightly different for a married couple versus maybe a single person who's watching this. But nevertheless, I'd love to hear insights on social life, making friends, and the community feel of US versus UK.
US lot of people stay like at different locations like this. And in UK, everyone is clustered around London. Easier to meet them and interact with them regularly. You're planning 10 people in US and they would be located differently. I would be just talking to them and meeting them sometimes. In UK, if I have 10 friends and they are located mostly around London, there is better chances to meet them more frequently compared to US. Yeah.
Let's go talk about children, right? Because you have a kid. Can you tell the readers where he was born and any thoughts on raising a child in India, in the US versus UK?
Our child was born in India. We moved to India for a brief period to have baby born. But over period of time, what I tend to realize is UK education system or the culture, at least in the student community, is still a bit more aligned with the India culture or India values. While in US, it's like questioning the value of degree at the moment as I hear more. I think UK, I don't see that kind of questions or that kind of like even the school community or the students going in, I see them like all in uniform. That was a value I lived when I grew up in India, that all are uniform, all are similar. A little bit more structured and organized and biased toward degree in UK compared to in US, where it's not as much biased toward degree. But that on the con side is people are a lot more you can say creative, independent, entrepreneurial, while in UK you may not have that kind of ecosystem right from the start.
Can you tell the audience more about the visa differences? Because that contributes a lot to the stress of NRIs in the US. And you mentioned about your H1 getting over, and that's why you moved to the UK. Can you educate the audience a little bit about, the emotional side? Also, the fact that it's probably easier to get a visa in the UK and citizenship after 5 years of being there. And US, it takes forever. Can you talk a little bit about what you feel about the visa and everything?
I think it's the system maturity. I would use the word. I think UK system maturity is far ahead compared to US system maturity in terms of visa application to visa retention to visa processing, and then ultimately, if you want to live for the long term and have settlement here. For example, when H1B is filed, you go through a lottery and then your number gets picked, and that becomes a challenge or chaos for a lot of students who have completed their masters and still not getting it. Versus in UK, if you have a job, then you have a sponsored license, a sponsored employer, then who is sponsoring you, then you easily get like the visa. In terms of application process in US, there is like you have a legal team creating a whole case of why this person needs to be here and what these are their qualifications, these are their degrees and all that stuff. And this is why employer need them and all this certification. Here, as long as the employer is certified to give a sponsorship, they give a simple number which you enter in your visa application, and then everything gets automatically kind of adjusted, and you just fill your visa fees and other thing get taken care of automatically. Like it's just simple process in terms of form filling and far more autonomy, far more control and transparency. I know my application was a bit delayed, so I sent an email to them and then I got a response as well. If I wanted to expedite the response, I could pay some premium and get that response. And that premium wasn't like $700 or pound, that was like £2, get a response faster to get a response of that email. So that was like quite like eye-opening that how intensive process is H1B. And then again, there is an interview process on top of it. And I know some of my friends got rejected in the interview process. And then there is this in H1B, there is an interview process versus in UK, it's like you just go for biometrics and then you are all done. The card you get is far more like matured digitally. Like there is a biometric residence permit versus in US, it's like that stamp on your passport every time it like all that manual process. I think from the long-term perspective, extension for me became a little bit challenge in US. Like there was rejection for me in between, and that was quite a moment in life where I was like questioning the purpose of it and all. 6
Was
months
there a
there were
reason
like
for rejection? Because it sounds fairly
there
random.
is no there is no clarity on reason. There is just that extra request for evidence for why this job is needed or why this person is needed. And there was no clarity on it. So again, it was very opaque to me. Again, here, if it is like, okay, somehow if there is some or the other concern, they would follow up or provide that reason, clarity. At least I hope so. I haven't faced that luckily. But I feel that system is much more mature and it is like much more digitally advanced, that you have a certified list of employers who have certificate of sponsor, who can issue a certificate of sponsorship. You put that certificate of sponsorship, your visa application, and fill your application and other details, and it's far more easier. That part I know a lot of time one parent has got the visa, other hasn't in US for some of the people I know of. But in UK, I haven't seen such occurrence in my experience so far.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's next for you?
It's far more easier or clear in terms of visa process, that okay, 5 years down the line or 3 years down the line, there would be ILR and that kind of a green card equivalent here. Versus in US, I have my I-140, but I don't know when will it get processed because of the 100 year or 140 year it will take to process all the EB to India. Maybe not. Not it is in US, but bit more clarity on the long-term stability, then only I would prioritize US.
Any last things you want to tell our audience? Anything you'd like them to walk away with? Any pieces of advice or suggestions?
It's more about money is the primary driver, then yes, US is the right place to be in. And there are a lot of luxury things that you can afford in US easily, while they may become a bit unaffordable in UK. Like having expensive cars or loans to buy houses and all. In UK, it's far more structured and far more like controlled with processes and all. But on the other side, if you're looking for all-round benefit and other kind of perks like closer to India, travel time, more frequent travel, or family visiting or family staying longer with you in UK, then you can easily get that flexibility and much more smoothen process compared to US. So it depends on how you balance or how you make the best out of this.
Great. This was super useful and insightful. Thank you so much, Raghav, for joining us and giving your insights for our audience.